a thought occurred to me. It's still pitch black outside, and a thought occurred to me that as little as 9 months ago, my routine would have been to get up at 10 minutes to 6 in the morning and to arrive at the gym perhaps 3 minutes before 6:30 for opening time. So even though it's beyond 6:30, it seems like the middle of the night to me because my routine since lockdown has gone because there is no more gym. So anyway, so like I said, I was here lying down thinking, I'm wide awake because I went to bed early. And the problem with going to bed early is I tend to wake up too early and I'm lying there and I can't sleep. And I guess I went on the internet and I was doing a little bit of light research. And I noticed I had some notifications for Facebook. And one of them was I think last week, twice last week, I took pictures of two females with their feet positioned on the seats of the bus. And I posted those to Facebook. The first one, I noticed that people didn't comment on the fact that she had her feet on the seat. They commented on what she was wearing. She was a goth, and so she had like a garter belt and some type of stocking or something with boots. And some of the guys seemed more interested in what she had on rather than the fact that her feet were on the seat, which I found somewhat disturbing. And then I think a couple of days later, maybe 3 days later, I posted another woman. This one, she seemed quite respectable, like she was a mother. She was African descent. She seemed like she was a more responsible person. So I guess looks can be deceiving. But anyway, I posted that. So sorry. It's first thing in the morning and my voice is always rough first thing in the morning. So yeah, so this guy, he commented and he said there are more important things in life to think about. He'd rather get dirty trousers sitting on a seat where someone had put their dirty feet rather than be mugged or attacked or other things going on. So he thinks there's more important things that could be discussed. So sparing the details, I just ignored what he said and just asked him, are you one of those who put your feet on the seat? And he wrote back and said he can't say he's never done it. So I wrote back and said, well, I've never done it. And then I said, I'm happy to discuss the things that you've discussed, the things that you think are more worthy of a discussion. So then I have a photographic memory. So not photographic, I have total recall. So if I've done something or if I've written something, I will know where to find it and how to find it. So I went back on Facebook and resurrected a post from, I just typed in monkey nuts keywords, and a post that I made the 31st of August 2015, 5 years ago, came up, and it's a passage from the book subtitled the root of unacceptable behavior. So this is what I tried to point out to the guy. I tried to say to him that the putting feet on seats is something that people tolerate, and when you tolerate bad behavior, it leads to other things. Now, my sister has loads of books. She's got two bookshelves and, sorry, two bookcases, and she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So in total, 12 shelves of books. And last night, I noticed on her bookshelf this. So she does have a copy of my book there. And so anyway, so I copied and, I shared what I posted 5 years ago as evidence to say I'm not just now talking about people putting their feet on seats. Not only did I post it on Facebook 5 years ago, I wrote about it 20 years ago, and this book, which was published in 2002, actually bears record that I've been talking about people putting feet on seat and unacceptable behavior in society for the longest time. So it's not just something I've come to lately. But so I've had no response on that, and I probably won't, because unfortunately, whenever people are proved wrong or you catch them, or basically they fall into the pit that they've created for you, that they've dug for you. It's early, my brain doesn't work first thing in the morning. Right, so when people have dug a pit for you and then they fall into it, they don't tend to get back to you on things. So as with these videos, I've said before, I don't chase followers or friends or subscribers on social media. I just put things out there. So whatever I put out there, it's there for the record, and if people want to find it, then they can. In the same way, if people want to watch the videos, they can. But I don't actually encourage anybody to do anything. I just put things out there, and if they want to, then they can, in due course, they can find it. Because I don't do things for now, as with the case with this book. I didn't write it for now. I wrote it for whenever. So I've never promoted it to people. I've never said to people, oh, I've got this book, you should read it. The only times I've perhaps mentioned it is in situations where I've said I actually talk about that in the book, or if I can see that the book would be of some relevance to the person's situation and they perhaps might benefit from it. But all of that aside, going back to what I said with regards, at this time in the morning, I would have a routine and I would be at the gym. I was thinking in terms of preparation. I talk a lot about it in the book, about self-development and so on. So we are in, people could say uncertain times, or call it the new normal or whatever. But for me, life is life. Nothing changes. It's like, all right, so this is the situation we find ourselves in. Okay, I adapt. So I'm able to go with whatever flow. So obviously we know that people are talking more and more about mental health and how people's mental health is being affected by the times in which we find ourselves. And not judging, but just stating facts. It's preparation. If you're not prepared to deal with things, then in that moment, when you need to cope, you won't be able to cope. So this could end up being quite a long video, actually. But, it's dark and I've got nothing better to do. So may as well. But so I'm thinking in terms of, okay, so I wrote this book ages ago. And, the thing people would say to me, how many copies have you sold? I'm not interested in how many copies I've sold. Like I said, it's not, I don't mind how many subscribers I have on YouTube, or how many friends on Facebook, or how many followers, or whatever. It's, it's there, and if people want it, then it's up to them to find it. So in everything I do, I speak from experience. I provide personal experiences. So as has been the case, suddenly there's no gym. What do? I do nothing, because I have, if you like, a contract with God. So when I'm in a situation where there is nothing that I can do, then I expect him to do what he needs to do. So I've said before, I've not exercised for more than 8 months. I've not been to the sauna, nothing. But these are things that are beyond my control. So anything that is beyond my control, I expect God to take over. Right. So in the same way that the government has told people to stay at home and have been paying them to stay at home, it's you could say it's exactly like that. So what I can't do, then it's for him to do. But it's not because I say so or because I expect it. It's because that is how I live my life. I live my life on the basis of I do what God wants me to do. And then when I can't do what I need to do, he needs to do it for me. So that's why I've not gained weight, even though, I'm still in the same shape. All right, so maybe I'm not as toned as I might have been had I been going to the gym, but I haven't gained weight. I'm not out of shape. So, right, so basically, there is a scripture, and it says, paraphrasing, if you keep my commandments, you have promise, but if you don't keep my commandments, you have no promise. And people would think in terms of the 10 commandments, but it's a little deeper than that. It's not just thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not do this, and thou shalt not do that, as written in Exodus. It is more than that. It's about a personal contract that you have with God. So I gave the example a couple of videos ago about when I was inspired to sing and I lost my voice, and I made a deal with God, and I said, I promise if you give me back my voice, I won't be afraid to use it again. So as an example, when I think there was one time I was really busy working and I didn't have time to go to karaoke, because like I said, for me karaoke was about practicing and just staying in shape vocally, if you like. And I remember I was sewing, and it's all inspiration, and at that point, when I say inspiration or discernment or anything, I'm talking about God communicating with me. So at the time I'm sewing and I'm thinking, I won't be able to go to karaoke because I've got to finish what I'm doing here. And at that point, God said to me, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. So despite everything being shut down and there's no way to go out and sing or play music, I'm not concerned that I'm going to sort of fall off anything. I expect that God will take care of it and give it back to me. But this isn't to say that he's got that deal with everybody, because if you never had a deal with him in the first place, then there's nothing to be gained. So in the same way that I've spent a lot of my life, I would say I actively went from, it was shortly before I started writing the book. So it was 1999. That's when I made a concerted effort to get to know God personally. And so we can say 21 years I've been on that path, despite the fact that I had a long history with church. Church wasn't doing it for me. So I independently decided that I was going to get to know God. So I have this contract with God. So what I can't do for myself, then he takes over. So when times are, like in lockdown and being told that, with the vaccine and all the other coming things, and I've made the decision that I'm not taking anything, I'm not going to get involved in this in any way, shape or form, this is where God steps in. So it's a bit like, for me, like a joyride to see what's going to happen next. So in the same way that say a year ago, 9 months ago, I had a routine of going to the gym, and suddenly that was taken away. And even when lockdown ends, when we go back to normality, should we go back to what was viewed as normal, I will not have the gym. It's gone. It's not coming back. So I don't know what I will have in its place, but I have such a track record that I'm not bothered. I know that whatever it is, it will be good and it will be the right thing for me. But in saying that, I can only put things out there based on my experiences, right? And so if I'm experiencing something and it's good, then I'm going to share it. I don't tend to share bad experiences. Not when I say bad experiences, it's a bit like offering people advice on the basis of things that don't work. I prefer to give advice on the basis of things that do work. So it's not like I pretend that I have a perfect life. It's just that things that don't work are not beneficial. So in the same way, I'm not a fan of support groups. So I've noticed Harry and Meghan are sort of making headlines at the moment for talking, well, ingratiating themselves on some teenagers, as they do for publicity. And these teenagers, they've set up some kind of podcast or something to talk about mental health issues. Now, this may be controversial to other people who don't understand from the perspective where I'm coming from. But for me, setting up something so that you can all talk together about the thing that's bothering you doesn't actually cure the thing. So, for example, imagine we all have broken legs and I form some kind of group, or I set up a podcast for people with broken legs. How is that going to help anybody? All we're going to do is talk about our broken legs. So I'd rather talk about how to avoid getting a broken leg, right? So in other words, rather than talk about mental health problems, I'd rather talk about how to avoid getting mental health problems. And I know that there will be experts out there who are going to start talking about chemical imbalances and this and that and whatever. But that's for the experts to talk about. So, yeah, so like I said, it's basically this book here. It talks a lot about, there's nothing in here that I talk about that I've never done. Sorry, not that I've never done. Things that I talk about that I have done that don't work, or that I'm confusing myself here. All right, there is nothing in this book that hasn't worked for me, right? Or there are things that I talk about, for example, that would perhaps, again based on personal experience, would give the reader added insight into how to go about making better decisions. So, for example, I wouldn't go to a hairdresser who doesn't have good hair, because that's an indication that they don't know what they're doing. So it's a bit like if you were to come to my house and my curtains look really bad, and I'd say that I make curtains, you would have every right to question my ability to make curtains if what was hanging from my windows were all raggedy and torn and mismatched. You know, the pattern wasn't matched properly or something. You would have every right to question my ability. And I have to say, I have been to someone who claimed to be an interior designer or something. She provided she'd love to talk about how, the £1 million projects that she was working on. And I'd been to her house and I saw the work that she'd done for herself. So for me, it didn't matter that you might have £1 million clients. £1 million clients don't know a lot about curtain making, which is why they solicit others to make their curtains. But I know something about making curtains, so it doesn't matter what your clientele is, you're not fooling me. I can see what your ability is. So just that kind of thing. So it's the same thing where I've talked before about Paul McKenna, just using him as an example, because I'd first heard of him when he was a DJ working on Capital Radio. And now he's a top hypnotist, and he's written all these books. I can make you thin, I can make you this, I can make you that. But Paul McKenna isn't thin. So you look at the person and you think the thing that they're selling you, if it's gonna work for you, then it should be working for them. So I look at it from that principle. So for me, I don't take advice from people who are giving advice that doesn't work for them. So it's like somebody with failed marriages. I wouldn't take advice from them on how to have a happy marriage if I was a married person, for that sort of thing. So, anything I put out there, as said, it's things that I've done, things that I do, things that work for me, absolutely. So when I come here and I talk about God, whether people understand the concept and what I'm talking about or not, that's neither here nor there. But people do know that 9 months ago, when life was normal, they could not have imagined that it would be what it is now. And what it is now, people are, as I've said before, are talking about the increase in incidence of people with mental health problems who are not coping under the current conditions. And I will go back and I will say, preparation. If you work on your mind, your body, and your spirit, you have to have a good plan, not just go with whatever's out there. I didn't go with what's out there. So like I said, I'm going from my perspective here, and that's all I'm going to put back out there to you. I went and I looked for it independently. I talk in the book about truth. If the truth matters to you, look for it yourself. So you don't go and attach yourself to somebody else. And people have tried to attach themselves to me, and I shake them off. I'm not here. I don't want followers, and I don't want to be a follower, right? So I don't want anybody attaching themselves to me in that way. But each of us are individuals, and so what we really need to do is find out what is right and good for us. It's sort of like our own personal blueprint. In the same way we each have our own identity, our own fingerprint, our own personality, it is for each of us to find out what is right and good for us, because that's the only way that we are going to survive whatever's going to come next. And something in the same way that life changed from what it was to what it is now, who is to say something else isn't going to happen? And it could happen just like that, because this is what happened with the terms of lockdown. It was one way yesterday, and then the next day you wake up and it's a different way. It just completely changed overnight, in other words. So who is to say the same thing couldn't happen in a week, 2 weeks, a month from now? What would the level of preparation be? So I just think in the same way that this guy, he doesn't want to address the issue at hand, which is people putting their feet on seats. He wants to talk about people attacking people, this, that, the other. And, I don't tend to talk about things that don't concern me. And people would say, oh, but that's selfish. No, it's not, because I've already said the reason why certain things happen to people, it's because the energy that they walk around with. And if you continuously walk around with a state of mind that, oh, there are people out there getting attacked, you draw things to you, right? So when I go out, it doesn't matter what time in the day or in the night, I don't worry about what's going to happen to me. I go out there prepared. I talk about in terms of having spiritual armor, Ephesians 6 in the Bible. I talk about going out there armed, so therefore people tend to, whatever nonsense there is going on out there, it doesn't affect me. And again, people will say, oh, but it's not all about you. Yes, it is all about me. In the same way, it is all about you. It is for each person. In the same way that you wouldn't leave your front door open, it is for you to come to worry about your own safety and the safety of your, if you've got any dependents. It is for you to be in a position to protect yourself and to protect them. It is not for me to do that. My job is to take care of what I need to take care of in my own world. So it's just that, really. So, yes, there are things going on in society, but again, people would say, oh, just because it's not affecting you, you should be concerned. No, I don't need to be concerned, because I've already said why these things are happening. But if people don't want to listen, then what more do you want from me, right? So I can tell you why society is the way it is. I've written about it in the book. I've been posting about it on Facebook. I talk to people about it when such conversations come up. And if that is not good enough, then I don't have anything else to offer. So, like I said, we don't know what's going to come. We don't know what's around the corner. But it's one of those things that I'm not going to say it's a bit too late now to start preparing, because it's never too late, really, to do anything. As long as you've got life, you can start from somewhere. But it's just to say that in the end, we tend to get back what, I suppose, what we deserve. And people are going to argue with me on that, but some things are generational, right? Some things are as a consequence of what our parents did, our grandparents or whatever. So I could sit here and I could tell you tales of how, because of my mother's behavior, my life has turned out. But I don't go down that road. I don't sort of take on the victim mentality, which I could do. I could use that to make excuses for myself. I see it for what it is, and I talk about this in the book as well. Childhood lasts maybe until you're 18, but you could live till you're 100. You don't sort of look at what happened in the first 18 years. You take control and you get on as best as you can with what you've got left. So that's the attitude that I've got. But my situation is at the moment that my sister is not well and in hospital. So I don't actually have a life of my own at the moment. I'm just literally working around my sister. But this isn't to say that I have issues with it or I'm resentful about it. It's just this is what life has thrown up. And so, but the best thing about it is the fact that my sister's in hospital. The best thing about it is that God has taken over in so many ways. Even basic things, sometimes I'm leaving the flat and he reminds me, don't forget this, don't forget that, just how to do things more efficiently and smarter and so on. And for me, the best thing is, as long as God is around me, then I don't have any worries or concerns as to how things are going to work out, because I used to say, as long as God is not angry with me and I'm still in his good books, then I don't have anything to worry about. But as you sort of develop it's basically from going from child to adult, you have a more mature relationship with God. So that is how it is. It's not something that I can transfer to anybody. I'm just telling you how it is, and just to say that I've put things out there, and I've been putting things out there for many years, and I stand by everything, because if you're walking in a straight line is a straight line. So you're not going to get lost along that path. If you just keep going, you can trace your way, or everything you've done, you can trace it back, and you're supposed to be building up, basically like climbing a hill or climbing a mountain. You just keep going up one step at a time. you don't go off to the side or whatever. You just keep going in the direction that you're going. So everything should work out. There shouldn't be any complications. You shouldn't think, oh my gosh, I went wrong here. If you're either walking with God or you're not. So if something has gone wrong, then I don't know. It depends. So for example, I'm all over the place again here. For example, people have said to me, oh, there's a lot of people losing their businesses. There's a lot of people, lockdown is affecting them this way and that way. But I argue it's the way that they establish their life in the first place. So if, for example, you set out in life and you said, this is what I'm going to do, this thing, and I'm going to become this thing. And then you find that life conspires in such a way that the thing that you've set up, it's a bit like the passage of scripture where it talks about the wise man building his house on the rock and the foolish man building his house on the sand. It's literally like that. It depends what you're building and where you're building it. So in other words, if you, I struggle to explain this. All right, so basically, I'm gonna just keep it from my perspective. So if I'm walking with God, then wherever God goes, I go. So you're not supposed to get lost. Things aren't supposed to backfire on you because you're supposed to be able to trust God. God knows what he's doing, kind of thing. But if you take it upon yourself that there is no God and I know what I'm doing and this is the life that I want for myself, then you will get the life that you've created for yourself. So again, an example, like I don't have children, I've never been married. And I've said that the only way that I possibly could get married is if God tells me that this is the person for me, because that's the only way that it could go right, because I don't trust my own judgment. And when I say I don't trust my own judgment, I mean from the standpoint of when you're dealing with other people, they have their own will. So you don't have control over them. I can only control the things that I've got control over. So I can control myself and I can control the things that I do. But when it comes to bringing other people into the equation, anything could happen. So I don't choose to do that. I allow God to do that. The only thing that I will do is get rid of people. I don't bring people in, but I will know to get rid of when I need to. So it's just pretty much that. So like I said, we don't know what's around the corner, but preparation is everything. So it's daylight, so I'm going to get myself ready and head out. I need to get back to my place for 8 o'clock to collect some stuff. See you later.